Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Women of Golf Show. I'm Ted Odorico, and joining me is LPGA professional Cindy Miller, and we are your hosts. We're broadcasting live every Tuesday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern here on the blogtalkradio.com network, bringing you some of the best golfers, teacher professionals, and entrepreneurs helping to elevate women's golf. We're so glad you decided to join us this morning, so grab your coffee and let's get started. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning. I'm Ted Odorico, and right alongside, as mentioned, is my good friend and co-host, LPGA professional and Legends Tour player, Cindy Miller. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning, Ted. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. And as we were talking about, we both had a good Easter holiday, but I'm glad to be back in the swing of things, so to speak. But other than that, doing pretty well. We got a great show this morning, Cindy. Just here in a moment, we're going to bring on our very special guest. We just got one guest this morning, Hyemin Kim, and she's a player on the Symetra Tour, actually a two-time Symetra Tour champion. We're going to bring her out here in just a second. But I want to mention this because I don't know if you got a chance on the weekend. I know you were out qualifying, but did you get a chance to watch the tournament that Brooke Henderson won?
Not.
Wasn't that amazing, though? I couldn't. This girl's on fire.
What?
I mean, she is just
playing
her. You know, I mean, playing her. Yeah, I watched a little bit. I didn't get a chance to see it all. As I was telling you off air, I was pretty busy myself doing different things, but I caught some highlights here and there. And I mean, man, she was just playing phenomenal golf. She is definitely a well-deserved win, but she's a champion, and I'm very, very proud of her. As most of you probably know, over the last several years, I'm Canadian, so and Brooke, of course, is Canadian, so she's really climbing up the ranks and doing some great work out in the golf course and making the rest of us Canadians very proud of her. So keep the momentum going, Brooke, and we'll keep rooting for you and supporting for you. But job well done. We're going to talk a little bit about we're going to talk about a little bit the second half of the show about a very important area of the game, actually two areas, wedge play. And then we're going to talk a little bit about hybrids. Some people have a little misunderstanding of how to actually hit their hybrids. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But Cindy, let me just introduce our first guest, and then we'll bring her out to join us and have a great discussion. As I mentioned, her name is Hyemin Kim. She's 30 from Seoul, Korea. She's had a total of 121 career starts on the Symetra Tour entering into the 2019 season, 9 top 10 finishes, and 61 cuts made. As mentioned, also, she's a two-time Symetra Tour champion at the 2017 PacMed Golf Classic and the 2018 Murphy USA El Dorado Shootout, which I believe they're playing this weekend, so she'll be the returning champion. Here's a very interesting side note. She donated the entirety of her winner's paycheck of $15,000 from her first win to the LPGA USGA Girls Golf Program, and also gave an additional $5,000 of her second win as well. So obviously, giving back to the game is something very important to her. And here's also an additional interesting point. She also enjoys watching Broadway musicals. And if she wasn't a professional golfer, Cindy, one might find her performing in a musical. So we'll have to talk to her about that a little bit. But Cindy, let's welcome our very special guest this morning, Hyemin Kim.
Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, Hyemin. How are you?
Good, how are you? Thanks for having me again. Appreciate it.
Well, we're happy to have you. Now, where are you this morning? Where's the tournament being this week?
Oh, well, we are at the El Dorado right now. Yeah, you were right.
Right. I thought it was this week. Where is it played, though? What state are you in?
We are at Arkansas.
Oh, okay. So you're not quite as early. The reason why I asked you is the last few weeks, Cindy, we've had most of the girls calling in have been in California, so they were a couple of hours behind us. We're obviously on Eastern time here, so we appreciate you just still getting up early and joining us on the show. But Cindy, if you want to go ahead, go first, and we'll start the discussion.
So if you were in a musical, would you be singing or dancing?
I think I need to change, fix my profile thing because Yeah, I love to watch the in Broadway, but I didn't mean to. I'm a good singer. Yeah, but I like to sing. Yeah.
You like to sing, but nobody wants to listen.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Very good. What Hyemin, what got you interested in musicals? When did you first start seeing them, and who got you interested in them?
No, I basically like to watch the live shows. I never been to concert. My concert is my first concert watching is my Broadway show for sure, and then it's more easy to understanding because they're singing and also they're telling the story about this whole story, and it's because I liked it because of Disney movies, I guess. So
right.
I guess many people not familiar with singing and talking, but it's just so common or very normal thing to me, listening music and telling the story.
Well, it certainly would be an interesting career change, but I think you're doing very, very well in your golf career, so you might want to stay there for a little while and maybe consider doing something a little bit down the road. Cindy, sorry, go ahead.
So how have you been playing so far this year?
I've been struggling with my knee injury first couple tournaments. My cartilage level went really low right now, so I'm kind of working on my knee treatment more. But I feel much better now, and I feel better with my swing, and I fixed a couple things with my swing because of my knee. So I feel better since the last tournament in California. So hopefully I feel much more confident this week.
Well, that's good. How did you injure yourself?
The doctors say I use too much. It's not about accident. Yes.
Yeah, that's tough when you hurt your knee, especially as a golfer, because obviously you're using your lower body to drive your power, and so you obviously have something in common with Tiger Woods because he had a knee injury. Did you have to have any sort of operation at all, or just therapy?
Oh no, I mean I'm about to getting worse, so I try to make it make it slow as much as I can. Like I heard about Tiger's X-ray or MRI thing. The doctor says it's unbelievable. He can actually hit the ball with that knee situation. But my knee is pretty okay compared with that for now.
Well, that's good. Yeah. Go ahead, Cindy.
So this will be your second time you are defending your title. Are you looking forward to this week's tournament?
I was very excited to coming back for sure, and I mean, first of all, I really like this golf course. It's very challenging, and it's very challenging on the green and the from the tee also, and this is obviously this is my first time being a defense champion, so I'm also kind of nervous about things, but also I appreciate how people welcoming me about, and I see a lot of pictures on the golf course. It's very new experience for me. I'm very excited.
That's awesome. So do you have to limit the amount of practice you do because of your knee?
Yes, I definitely doing that. I normally spend a lot of time on the range. My whole day is practice day for me every day, since until last year, and then when I got injured, so I felt I keep telling myself practice is not the answer. I'm sure there's another answer to some other parts, like more focus, more visualizing, more like a breathing. so I try to find something other things for my golf game right now.
Awesome.
Very good.
Which will also help you.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. Do you when you're practicing, Hyemin, you mentioned you're obviously trying to not over practice because of your knee. Do you, from time to time, do you wear, maybe even not so much on tournament play, but during your practice, do you wear any sort of like a, what am I thinking of, like a brace of any kind or a knee?
Yeah,
like
I know what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah.
I tried a couple times, but my PT didn't want me to because it's whenever I'm using it, it makes my legs weaker, and also I'm not feeling that much hurt, so it means also like I will force to swing it harder, so
right.
So it means that also I'm not paying attention on my body a lot. So they want me to train myself walking more straight, like just and also they want me to keep aware I'm get injured. Don't let it fool me.
Right. I understand. So let me ask you, Hyemin, when it comes to your practice, is there a part of the game, or what area of your game do you struggle with the most? Is it your putting, or is it your driving? What areas are your strong areas of your game, and what areas do you still struggle with from time to time?
It's hard to tell because I think it's more about the course. When they're at the golf course, setting up really make a lot of birdies. I think I more struggle about that kind of golf courses because I have to make a birdie all the time, every hole. I mean, always I try to make a birdie, but the attitude of the golf course is totally different. Like El Dorado, or some other golf courses had a really difficult setup. My mind is just so peaceful because par is okay, but some golf courses par is not okay. Like
right.
That makes me so stressful during the tournament when I make a par, and sometimes I get upset. So that's what I struggle about.
So in other words, if I understand you correctly, if a course sets up or traditionally sets up where you should be making more birdies and you're not, that causes you the anxiety, correct?
Yes.
Right. Okay, I got you. So it's more of a course management thing is where sometimes you struggle with a little bit. It's not so much your actual physical ball striking or putting and things like that. It's actually navigating on the course and setting yourself up for more opportunities. If you're not able to do that for some reason, that gives you the most stress or anxiety.
Yes.
I got you. So what do you do to alleviate that? What do you do to try and help and build that confidence up in that area of your game?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm still looking for it. I couldn't find any answer about it, but I don't know. I mean, I try to not to get upset these days because
right.
After I watched the Tiger Woods interview after he won the Masters, it touched my heart a lot. Like I couldn't see Tiger like 10 years ago. He got so much softer, and he really generous with talking with all the press, and he was I feel like he was very honest. He he said it just he was just thankful being on the golf course right now because he was not able to walk. His body condition was not able to play in golf anymore, but now he can play, he can still compete, and then he won. Yeah, I mean, I think I need to feel that way. I need to feel more appreciative about I'm playing on this tour and competing all the good players all over the world. So, yeah, that's what I'm trying to feel that way.
Yeah, and certainly I agree with you. His interviews and that have been very inspirational. I mean, he's 43 years old. He's had a lot of injuries, not just his knee, but he's had his back as well that has given him a lot of trouble over the last decade. And he's finally at a place now that he's able to play with comfort. And obviously, the fact that he won the Masters shows that he still has the game in him to compete at the highest level. Cindy, I want to ask you something just in lieu of what Hyemin was talking about, because I know this is an area that you can really help somebody with. If she's really struggling with her course management, what would you suggest if she was a player that you were working with to help overcome some of those challenges?
I think because we all know that we can't make anything happen. So I think what I'm hearing you say, and tell me whether or not I'm right, is that the more difficult the golf course, the better you play. Is that true?
Yes.
Do you hit the ball far?
Oh, I'm not a far hitter.
Okay, so I think that maybe I'm just like you, that sometimes we think we don't measure up because everybody else is getting to the par 5s and 2, and you're not getting there because you don't hit it far enough.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, everybody's going to make birdies, and therefore you believe that you have to try harder, which really makes you not as good.
Right.
Is that true?
Yes.
So, again, the hardest thing in the world is to play in your own game and just play for yourself. And I think that's the only answer there is. And I think that, maybe there's so much pressure internally that you're putting on yourself to perform, above and beyond, that makes you miss shots. Therefore, you don't make birdies, and sometimes you'll make a bogey. I agree with you to take the mindset of Tiger of just be grateful you can play. And the fact that you've got a knee injury now, the more you get negative and browbeat yourself, the worse this is going to get. So you just have to say, you know what, I should be just grateful that I'm out here playing. And just take that
totally
pressure
agree
off.
with that.
Yeah, you just got to take the pressure off yourself. I tried to qualify yesterday for the U.S. Senior Women's Open, and I'm 63 years old, and I shot 79. I was 6 over, and I'm second alternate. So I was mad that I didn't make it, but on the other hand, I got friends that are dying. So and I'm playing in a Legends Tour event coming up. In fact, I'm playing in 3 Legends Tour events coming up. So it's like sometimes you just got to be grateful, and you got to keep trying. And the mindset is you got to do the best you can, and if that's all you do, and it's not good enough, then that's okay. But if you browbeat yourself, like yesterday, I tried too hard as well, and I missed some shots. I missed 4 shots. So if you say, okay, take those 4 shots back, would you have made it? Yes. But did I learn and recover from those bad shots? Yes. Did I make a bad swing because I have a bad swing? No, I made the bad swing because I tried too hard, or I didn't trust it, or I didn't commit to the club. So there's so many other reasons that this game is really hard, and you're one of the best players in the world. And again, I'm one of the best players in the world. I'm 38th on the career points list of the Legends Tour. So it's like sometimes we just get on ourselves so much. It's like, shut up. You're doing great.
Yeah.
And I think one other thing is I think that people, when I went to this tournament yesterday, I said, you know what? I just want to challenge myself to hit the best shot that I can at the time. And the little voices in my head, sometimes it's other people, well, what'd you shoot? Did you make it? It's like, you know what? I don't care what they think. I really don't care what they think. They wish they could do what I'm doing. So sometimes it's the pressure. When I played on the LPGA Tour and I would miss the cut, I would come home and everybody at my club would say, what's the matter with you? You keep missing the cut. I'm like, don't you think I'm trying? I believe that no one knows how hard it is except you or someone else who's done it. So
Right.
the only thing you can do is try to make the best swing you can at the time and just keep plodding along, and whatever happens, happens. If you give it your best shot and it's not good enough, at least you tried. If you give it your best shot and it's good enough, clearly it's good enough. You've won twice. So we know you can do it. So that's my advice.
Oh, thank you so much. That's a really kind words. I mean, I absolutely agree with that, every word.
Right.
Well, it's just,
and
so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And it's definitely some very sound advice, Cindy. And Hyemin, the other thing that Cindy just, pointed out is the fact that you have won. And the most important part of that is you can do it. You've got the game to be able to do it. You've done it twice here on the Symetra Tour. And more importantly, this week you're coming in as the defending champion. So, you can draw on one of the great things, the more you play is the more experience that you develop. And now's the time to draw on that experience. Think back to the 2018 El Dorado, shootout. What did you do during that tournament to be able to come through as the winner? Think back. You've played this course before, so you're familiar with it. So draw on that experience. And that's something that some of the younger girls that are just coming there for the first time don't have, that you do. So that's something that you can take. And whether you're hitting it as far or hitting it as straight or as perfect as everybody else, as Cindy said, is irrelevant. You have to play within yourself. And if you draw on those, experiences that you've had, then you'll be a winner again. And even if you don't win this week or next week or the week after, as long as you've gone in there, she mentioned, playing your best game, then you're going to be happy with that.
I agree.
So let me ask you one other thing, too, about your game. Now, something I want to mention, which I was very, very impressed with, it's actually, I take that back, it's not so much about your game, but it's a testament to your character, is you donated your first paycheck and then some additional money from your second paycheck. That tells a lot, obviously, that you want to give back. Why was that important for you to do you think?
I mean, I've been watching my parents helping other people a lot, and also I see a lot of players like Inbi Par, IK Kim, doing certain like donation thing. I really like it. It touched my heart, and I was always wishing if I win the Symetra Tour or an LPGA Tour, I wish I have a chance to do that, like giving back to other people, because I mean the golf is basically our future. I mean, if they're not if they're not there, we don't have any future, So yeah, I was always dreaming about it.
Well, as I said, that's a great testament to your character. Lots of people have done nice things, Nat, but to do it so early on in your career like that really says a lot about how you were raised by your parents, and obviously they've taught you some very valuable lessons. And that's important because I think in this day and age, especially, you are considered an athlete. Some people may not consider golfers athletes, but they are athletes. You have to be in very good shape, not only physically, but mentally. I mean, you're maybe not running wind sprints or you're not, leaping over hurdles, but, to walk the golf course for several rounds in a row is not an easy feat. So you've got to have some stamina. And, to be able to understand the importance of the future of the game. And something else I want to mention to you as well, and you are probably maybe not that familiar with her, but the LPGA recently lost one of the founding members, Marilyn Smith, who passed away a few weeks ago. Something that I would like to say to you and to any of the other young ladies coming up, it's not only important to look to the future of the game, but it's also important to look back and remember the past of the game and how you got there, because without people like Marilyn and many of the others that founded the LPGA, you wouldn't be where you are today. There wouldn't be an LPGA Tour. So it's equally important to look back and reflect and respect the many women that worked and climbed a lot of those mountains and hurdles, if you will, to get you to where you are today. So I just wanted to mention that because I think it's important. And I think what you're doing, I commend you for being in a position to be able to donate that money to help the future of the game, because that's also important, as I mentioned. And you should be very proud of yourself, as I'm sure your parents are.
Yeah,
I have to ask
I'll try.
one more
Go ahead,
question.
Cindy.
The obvious question. So if you donated your whole purse earnings, can you tell me, you must have sponsors to help pay for your playing? Do you have sponsors?
Yes.
Or do
Yes, I do.
Okay.
It's a architecture company in Korea. They supported me for a lot of years. I really appreciate them too.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, fantastic. And obviously that's an important part for playing on tour, because it's obviously expensive to be able to do that, and to have a good support system like that to afford you the opportunities to do that is equally as important as well. And Cindy, something else very quickly. I think it's good to have outside passions. You teach in addition to continuing to play on the Legends Tour and things like that. And obviously, and we joke a little bit about this, but Hyemin, I don't know whether you're ever going to be in a musical or not, but that's something that obviously you enjoy, and you need to take those opportunities whenever possible to really enjoy something other than golf. I mean, we all love golf and we enjoy playing and being involved in whatever capacity. But if watching or listening to music is something that you're very passionate about, that's something that you have to take time to. That sort of gives you balance in life. Because if you're on the golf course 24/7, you're going to burn out. Would you agree with that, Cindy?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We all need to have other things. Otherwise, it just, everything you do, just, it can ruminate in your head over and over and over again. So I agree with you with absolutely watching the Tiger interview, being grateful that you're on the golf course, that you can still swing with your knee and let it rip, because you got nothing to lose and everything to gain.
That's right. That's right. Well, Hyemin, we want to thank you for joining us this morning. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, and we want to wish you the best of luck, not only in this week, but in the weeks to come. So keep, as Cindy said, keep swinging hard, and take care of that knee, and just have some fun.
Thank you very much, Ted. Thank you very much, Cindy. Appreciate having me
All
again.
Right. You have a great day.
Thank you. Have a great
Thank
day.
you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, that was our very special guest, Hyemin Kim, from the Symetra Tour, out there battling it with the ladies this week on the Murphy USA El Dorado Shootout, and hopefully she will hoist that trophy one more time again this season. I don't know if you sense this or not, Cindy, but just listening to her when she was talking, she's obviously a very humble young lady. Very obviously probably could use a little more confidence in certain areas, but at the same time, very humble and very respectful of the game in itself. It's not just all about their winning and me. She obviously wants to make sure that she leaves, something, a little something for the next generation that are going to follow her. And I think that, again, really speaks volumes for her character. What do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. She's awesome.
Yeah, she'll do well, and I think that she's got a good head on her shoulder, and she obviously, it sounds like, as we mentioned, she's got a very good support system, not only with her family, but also sponsors and things around her that will help, keep her in good company. So we wish her well, and we thank her for taking time this morning. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about Cindy. I thought we would talk about wedge play first off, and then if we've got time, we'll talk about the hybrid as well. This is an area of the game, Cindy, that I think a lot of people, we know they don't practice enough, number one. They don't spend enough time, when they get out on the practice tee, whether it be in between lessons or on their own. And they just seem to not really understand some of the basics. So I thought we would talk a little bit about that and maybe help people understand what they need to do, number one, when they're using your wedges, but also the importance of practicing and maybe some things that we can help them along the way. And the first thing I want to talk about is really setting up to be able to hit some crisp wedge shots, because a lot of people setup is everything, and they get into a situation where they're not really setting up in the proper posture and the proper alignment and so forth. And we're mainly talking about, these are primarily your 50 to upwards of 120, for those of you that can really step on it, yards. So this is your short game. And one of the things, a good component, I think, Cindy, is, or actually an error that a lot of people make, is they get too wide with their stance. You want sort of a narrow stance, because most part you're only hitting really a half to a three-quarter wedge. You're not really swinging. I mean, even though we say you're taking a full swing, you're not really swinging like you would with your longer irons or your driver. And the reason why you do that is obviously for accuracy. Your wedges are what you're going to dial in. So the other thing too is, which is important, is you want to have, when you're setting up, even for your full wedge shot, you want to have a little bit more, if you're a right-handed golfer, you want to have a little bit more weight on your left foot, as opposed to sort of a 50-50. You might want to have like a 60-40, and that helps encourage a little bit more of a descending blow. What are your thoughts, when you're working with your students, Cindy, what are your thoughts in sort of getting them into a good position to be able to hit some good solid wedge shots?
What are my thoughts? I think you should simplify it as much as possible. So I believe that changing the distance of how far you can hit a ball. So what I would tell someone is, let's say you've got a 56-degree wedge, and when you grip it at the end and you take a full swing, it goes maybe 80 yards. Mm-hmm. So if you want it to go 70, 60, 50, I would change where I grip it. I tell my students they can grip down, grip middle, grip end, and then they can change the size of their swing. So you can say, you know what, I'm only going to use one club and I'm going to change my swing, or I'm only going to use one swing and I'm going to change my club. But you have to make a decision on which way works better for you.
Right. Well said. Something else too that was very interesting, and this is going to age me a little bit, but many years ago, obviously, I always like to watch some of the great teaching videos by some of the touring professionals, and Tom Kite comes to mind. And something that Tom Kite, he was really one of the very early, I won't say necessarily he was the first one, but he was one of the very early professional golfers off the PGA Tour that really had extra wedges in his bag. Traditionally, most played with a pitching wedge and a sand wedge, but he brought in other wedges that had degrees in between those. And the reason he did that is he felt that because the short game was so important, he wanted to be able to have a wider range in his wedge play. And something that he did that was really interesting, and it kind of goes on to what you just said about making those adjustments. He actually used to put a very thin piece of tape on all of his wedges and on the shaft of the wedge near the handle. And what he would do is he would write this on first, and he would tape it around. But he would put on there the different yardages that he would hit each wedge. So in other words, if he took a half back, halfway through, how far that wedge would hit, and what he had to do. If he put his hands gripped a little bit lower, he gripped an inch down, and again halfway back, halfway through, whatever the distance was. That he would get with that. And the reason why he did that is so that if he went out on the practice tee, it would give him a gauge with each of his wedges, making the various adjustments, how far he would hit the ball. Now, obviously, in tournament play, he's not going to have that there, but it was designed to help. Now, you don't necessarily have to go to the extent that he didn't tape it around there, but I think it's a great idea to maybe have like a little card, if you will, or a cheat sheet when you go to the range, and make note of the different yardages with the different adjustments for each of your wedges that you have in your bag. You should really do it for all of your clubs, but I think this is a great way and a great guide so that when you get out on the golf course and you're actually playing in an event, you've got that sort of memory of what you've been doing on the practice tee, and you've got those numbers in your head and say, okay, with my 56-degree wedge, if I do this and do that, I'm going to be able to hit it this yardage. And it gives you a level of confidence. I don't know if you ever had a chance to see that. It was an old tape, but it was very, very interesting. In fact, he did it with, I think, Payne Stewart and Craig Statler, I think, were the other players that were on. This was an old, like I said, I'm dating myself, a VHS. But it was a very, very well put together for its time analogy of how to really work your wedges. And I want to ask you what you think about something. Do you do something similar? I don't mean taping it, but do you kind of keep track for yourself the different various distances that you hit each of your wedges, given different circumstances?
I do. And you know what's funny? That there was recently an article Dave Pelz wrote about, that's where Tom Kite and all these guys got it, and Alan Miller was in that pack of players, the first ones that he worked with, which created the lob wedge. But absolutely, when I was on the big break, which again, I'm dating myself now, I practiced where I was gripping and how big I was swinging to fly the ball certain distances, and I created a little cheat sheet. I typed it out big enough that I didn't need my glasses to read it because I didn't play with glasses, and laminated it, and I used that on the big break, which is why I did so well with the short game portion.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's very important, and I just want to read a few things out, and then we'll continue on to discussion. Some other important key factors to remember, and again, we understand everybody's game is different, and there might be some modifications. So these are just sort of a generalization that I'm reading here, but it gives you a good guide to work with. One of the other things too that a lot of people make a mistake with their wedges is neglecting to really set the club early. In other words, you want to take it back with your arms while simultaneously hinging your wrist. So you want to actually set your wrists a little bit earlier. The club head, of course, is in front of your body with the shaft parallel to the ground along your toe line. You want to use your body to rotate to the top of your abbreviated backswing, whatever that might be. And this is something, again, more for practice, but you want to pause once you get to whatever the top is for you. And check to make sure that your left arm runs parallel to the ground and that the grip points directly behind the ball. One of the things that I see a lot of people do, many amateurs do, Cindy, and I'm sure you've seen this, and this is why I wanted to mention about the wrists, is quite often what we'll see them do is they think of that one-piece takeaway into their backswing, which is fine, but they don't get the wrists involved. And what they do is they're very stiff going back. They get up to that, whatever that top position is, and when they come down, because they haven't really set their wrists properly, they're not actually able to make good contact with the ball. So what ends up happening is either they're flipping the wrists, trying to help the ball get in the air, or they keep it stiff. The wrists are not, unhinging properly because they haven't really been hinged the first place, and they end up hitting in behind the ball and hitting it fat. So there's a lot of inconsistency. What were some of the things that, and I know you've talked with Alan for years, and about his game that's obviously helped you with your game. What do you remember him, if anything, that he talked to you about his wedge play, obviously working with Dave Pelz?
Well, to be honest with you, he's more of a field player. So when you talk about where to grip and how big to swing, it just doesn't work for him. So when we do our short game sessions or our boot camps or whenever we're teaching, we're so different. I do the grip down, grip middle, grip end, and change the size of my swing. He grips everything at the end and just changes the distance the ball goes by how soft or how fast he swings. So he's total feel, and I'm a little more methodical. So
Right.
either or, as long as you know what you are, it can work for you.
Right, exactly. And just some other points I want to mention. And again, you're exactly right. I mean, everybody's different, so you have to find what works for you. But again, these are just things that might be a helpful guide for those of you that do need a little bit more information. Obviously, starting down in your downswing, you want to slightly shift towards the target and begin unwinding your body. So it's more of a body movement. It's not so much a hands and arm. And your body really should do all the work. And as you continue to unwind, use your body movement, not your arms, to control the speed and force. You should feel a connection between all key parts, club, arm, and body. And this goes to the point that I said earlier. Many amateurs, or most amateurs, set their wrist much too late, which leads to overswinging, a disconnection, and of course, double bogeys. So once you master a body-first sequence with a balanced near full finish, your wedge game will certainly improve quite a bit. And I agree with what you said about Alan. Some players are very, very good field players, and I'm not trying to suggest that you need to get more mechanical, but I think if you understand how some of the basic principles, if you will, of good wedge play, then you can kind of take your own feeling, if you will, if you're a field player. But this giving you an idea, again, you want to keep your weight a little bit more on your lead foot. If you're a right-handed golfer, that's of course going to be left. If you're a lefty like Phil Mickelson, that's going to be your right leg, or right foot rather, is going to carry a little bit more weight. And what I don't want to see, and I laugh because when I tell people that, I've got to really be specific and really clarify, because I've actually explained to people, you need to put a little more weight on your lead foot. And when I see them in their setup, it's like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. They actually lean their entire body over, and to the point where it looks like they're almost about ready to fall over. So it's not leaning your whole body, if you will. It's just shifting the weight just slightly over onto your lead foot, and that just helps you with the transition. Another good tip as well that many good players do is they will actually open their stance just slightly, not a lot, but just slightly, and that helps to clear the hips a little bit as well. But I agree, you have to first kind of decide whether you're more of a field player or if you're a little bit more mechanically inclined. What about some other great tips that you think, Cindy, would be beneficial to some of our listeners?
I really believe that most people aren't sure which club to use where. So I see students using a lob wedge where they have a really long shot and they need to roll the ball. So I say chip and run basically mean the ball's going to run. There's more room to roll it than there is to fly it. And a pitch shot is where you have to fly it over more things. So I tell my students, make sure that you take a club with less loft if you need to roll it. They can hit a great shot, but their distance control is off because they're using the wrong tool. Do you ever find that?
Yeah. And then you actually raised an excellent point. The lob wedge, as great as it has been to the game, has also been carried one of the biggest problems for amateur golfers. One thing that I see many of them do, they see these guys doing these great flop shots, and the ladies as well. So they think, well, this is what I'm going to do, and they'll get into they'll be in the fairway, they're maybe just a few yards short of the green, and they think, well, I'm going to flop it back to the pin because the pin's cut a little further in the back, and they're right in the middle of the fairway, and it's very tightly mowed. And the problem with that is with the lob wedge is first off, they don't set up properly with it, and they end up either skipping and blading the shot, or they take a huge divot and end up hitting it fat. It's not the right club. If you've got an open green and the bunkers are off to the side and there's nothing impeding your shot, this is where maybe a good bump and run, or hitting your less lofted wedge and just hitting just a little, just a little bit of a short pitch to get it running onto the green. Again, depending on the distance, you might even want to go down to a 9 or an 8 iron and bump and run it like that. This is something that I see all the time, Cindy, as I'm sure you do, with people pulling out the wrong club for the shot. And this is where I think what a great drill for a lot of people to do is to set up, maybe it's 20 feet off the front of the green or 15 feet, and to take 3 or 4 different clubs and try the same shot and then gauge the results that you get. So in other words, take a more lofted club and try to pitch it back, maybe take a less lofted club like an 8-iron even and try to bump and run it up there and see what happens, and do several shots of each and find what gives you the best result most consistently. Because if you're hitting it with your wedge, Cindy, and you're falling short all the time because it's checking up, on the green and it's not getting back to the pin, but you're hitting your 8-iron and you're sort of a bump and run or a chip and run and you're getting back close to the pin, well, that's obviously the club you should be playing with. What do you think about that?
Again, absolutely correct. I think so many people, and I'm guilty of this myself, I have a 50 and a 54-degree wedge, and along with my pitching wedge, and I had a shot yesterday, and I thought, you know what, maybe I should be using my pitching wedge here instead of my 50. So just be open to trying different shots and see what happens, because I can tell you for sure that you got to choose the right club. That'll make life much easier.
Right. And more often than not, this is another reason too, Cindy, why post-round inventory, if you will, of your game is critical, because just as you mentioned earlier in the show, you talked about there were probably 4 key shots throughout your round yesterday in the qualifier that you knew if you got them back. Understanding where you made the mistakes in your round and what you could have done differently is going to help you for the next time you get out and play. And that's why it's important to maybe jot down some notes. Obviously, you got to be cognizant of slow play and things like that. But when you're playing these holes, as your playing partners are stepping up to the ball and doing their thing, make a quick note. Have a short little pad with you, or even if you got a spot on the back of the scorecard, if there's room. Some of them have a little area you can put some notes, and just jot down, some of the things that on that particular hole, maybe you chose the wrong club. Instead of using your wedge, you should have used that 8-iron or vice versa. And just make a note of that so that the next time you get out there, you're going to think, okay, I remember if you're faced with a similar shot, okay, this was not the right club selection for me. And these are things that you've got to be cognizant of. And a lot of amateurs, this is why they lose strokes. It's not how well they hit it off the tee. It's around the short game, as I'm sure you and I'm sure Alan would agree with. This is where we see most of amateurs make mistakes.
Absolutely. And sometimes pros.
Well, this is what I think what really gets me is if the best players in the world make mistakes, how can the rest of us not think that we're going to make mistakes? And this is what adds to the level of frustration. Yeah, this is what adds to the level of frustration for a lot of players out there, and even players like yourself that have the experience, that have been out and battling it out on tour. You're going to make mistakes, and we're all human, we all do. But as you said earlier, with our guest, it's understanding and identifying those mistakes and learning from them. Most importantly, if you're not learning from them, then you're just going to keep repeating the same mistakes all the time. If you're making note of it, whether it be a mental note or a physical note of some of the things that you've done, and then work on that after. The other big thing, and especially with the short game, I see this a lot, is people will go out before a round and they might remember what they did the last time, and instead of going out to a practice session in between the game that they've played this time and the last time, they figure that they're going to do this before they play their next round. So they're going to go out there 30 minutes before they tee it up and start working on some of these changes. And that's the biggest mistake you can make as a player, because now what you're going to do is you're going to tinker around with things and get yourself so confused, and then you're going to tee it up and you're going to get out there and you're going to screw things up. the purpose of going to the range or the practice tee before any round is purely warm-up. That's not where and when you work on some of the fundamentals and some of the things or changes, if you will, that you need to make. That's purely a warm-up, and you look at what your game is. You look how you're hitting the ball off the tee. You look how your wedges are going. On the putting green, you want to gauge the speed and things like that. That's something, Cindy, that I see a lot of amateurs make mistakes. They start tinkering around before they go out to play, and then they get out there and they wonder why the ball's going all over the place because they're trying to make changes right before a round. It doesn't make any sense. You agree?
Well, I think that they're not confident with what they're doing. They're not certain.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, again, I can say that you've got to make a clear decision and then stick to it. So yesterday, as I reflect back, which I think, everyone should have the courage to reflect back on their rounds and say, okay, where did I make mistakes? How did I mess this up? And how can I improve? I'm hitting the ball a little bit further than I have been because I'm really working on my swing, which is a good thing.
Right.
But there were 3 or 4 shots that I wasn't certain that I had the right club. Therefore, I didn't make a good swing because I wasn't totally committed. I wasn't positive. And therefore, that costs you. So you really need to make sure that you're making a clear decision and you're sticking to the decision and then commit to the shot. And I think it's okay to make changes, but they have to be totally clear. You need to know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And if you do, then, you're going to be way better for it.
Right, exactly. And there are certain things I don't disagree that you can do, in a warm-up session like that. I was referring more to, major monumental changes, and I see a lot of people, they'll start, well, I'm going to just try and grip the club differently today than what I have been, and that's not the time to do it because then you're going to get out there, you're not going to hit it right, then you're going to start monkeying around with your swing out on the golf course, and it's just going to add to the frustration. I've seen player after player after player do this, and then they get out there, and about halfway through the round, they're so depressed, and they're looking for the closest CVS or pharmacy, where they can get something to knock them out because they're so annoyed or ticked off at their round, and you just can't do that. There's a time and a place. You have to practice with a purpose, and there's you have to set up some time. And when you're working with a golf professional, they're going to obviously have some practice time with you, and they're going to take you out on the golf course and put everything together. But then in between, the next time you see that professional, you need to make some conscious effort, whether you're doing some little drills that you can do, in your own home, which there are many that you can do, or you set aside some time. You have to decide what's important to you. And if you're not willing to set aside that time, then you're never going to improve. And this is partially, Cindy, why handicaps have kind of stayed stagnant for so many years. It's because people are just not willing to put in the time, and they think, well, I don't have an hour. Well, you don't have to spend an hour. You can do 20 minutes once or twice a week, very, very easily. One you can do at home, and one you can do, down at the practice tee if you're close by. And if you can't do that, then find other ways that you can work on your game. But by just watching videos all the time and how to do this and how to do that, if you're not actually out there doing it yourself, you're never going to become a better player. And that's just the cold hard facts. And yourself, Cindy, when you're busy doing other things and you haven't had I remember, I think it was last season you had mentioned this, that you, or it might have been the year before, you had mentioned that you hadn't been out really practicing on your game as much, and you just didn't feel as confident going out there. So yourself, somebody at your level, if you're not out there practicing and working on your game, and then you have to step up into a pro-am, or not a pro-am, but trying to qualify, you're not going to be feel at your best, right? And you're going to struggle a little bit. So, even if you're not playing in a professional event, but you're playing, wanting to play golf on a regular basis, if you're not willing to put in the time and the effort and practice with a purpose, you just might as well pack up the clubs and find something else to do. Just some food for thought. We got just a couple of minutes left, so I won't get into a big thing, but I do want to mention something about the hybrid, because this is a club that can be very, very versatile, Cindy, for a lot of players out there. I want to just read something very quickly. and then we'll have a brief discussion, and then we'll wrap up. Hybrid is, I believe, is a very forgiving, versatile, and easy to hit for most golfers. And if you're struggling to enjoy some of the benefits, you may be swinging it like a sweeping fairway wood motion, which is wrong. A lot of players get this. They see that odd-shaped head on a hybrid, and they think, okay, this is just another fairway wood. The idea is you're not hitting it like a fairway wood. You're not sweeping the ball. The result, obviously, is either thinner or fat contact. So instead, you want to treat your hybrid more like a 6-iron. Swing it around your body with enough of a descending blow to clip the ball off the turf. And obviously, the setup position will help. And one of the things I just want to mention very quickly, and I'll get your thoughts on it, how you feel about hybrids and your experience with it. But one of the problems, again, because a lot of people think it's like a fairway wood, is they get the ball sort of creeping too far forward in their stance, and it makes it very difficult to hit down the ball. So a great way to set up, and I've found it works for me, and it may work for others out there, is I place the toe of the hybrid against my left heel with the club face pointing towards my body. So in other words, I point the toe, I've got the club in my hand, I'm pressing the toe of the hybrid against my left heel because I'm a right-handed golfer, and the club face, of course, as I mentioned, is pointing towards my body. So it's pointing towards me, and I set the ball opposite the hosel of the club. So it's usually a couple of inches inside my left heel. This is really, in my opinion, a perfect ball position for a hybrid. What is your experience with hybrids? Do you use them much? Do you like them? Have you, like many professionals, replaced your longer irons with that, or are you more of a traditionalist where you like to play with the longer irons as opposed to hybrids?
No, I'm a cheap date. My irons are 8-9 wedge. I am the queen of hybrids. I have a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hybrid, and I love them. So I'm with you. Yeah,
it's really, they've really helped to replace. I mean, I've got a couple as well. I've got a 3. Actually, I've got a 3, 4, and 5 that I sort of rotate out depending on the circumstances, depending on where I play. And I'll be honest, I even like, especially on short par 4s where there's a lot of trouble out there, there might be a stream or something running across. I really love using my number 3 hybrid or even my number 4 hybrid because I can hit the ball still, believe it or not, still pretty decent distance, is I'll actually tee off with it. The trick is, obviously, you don't want to tee the ball up very much. You want to keep it fairly low, so you want to put the tee low on the ground, and the ball is just sort of barely sitting above the grass, just slightly. Even though you're hitting it down a little bit, you want to get some forward momentum with the club as well. But I've found it's a great, great club, even better, in my opinion, than some of the fairway woods. For getting good distance control, but also accuracy. They can be very, very accurate if you're hitting them properly. And I would say to most golfers out there, if you don't have at least one in your bag, go to your local, PJ or LPGA professional and get fitted for one and find, based on where you play, the best one for you, because it's a very, very versatile. It's one of the most, in my opinion, one of the most versatile clubs in the bag if used properly. And as you have done, Cindy, you've actually put several in your bag to replace some of those longer irons, and it gives you more confidence. I mean, you're probably hitting them much better than you did long irons, correct?
Holy cow, yeah. Yes. No comparison.
Yeah, I mean, you can get some great distance with some of them, and they can be very, very accurate. But as I was mentioning in the beginning, one of the problems a lot of players do is they try to sort of sweep it off much like a fairway would, and that's really not the proper way to hit a hybrid. You want to actually have it like an iron, like they suggest, similar to a 6-iron or even a 7-iron. You want to have a slightly descending blow, because Cindy, this is the other thing too that a lot of people get messed up on, is they don't realize that the club's designed to get the ball airborne. And if you're trying to pick it off the tee, or you're trying to pick it off the ground with an upward motion, you're not going to only get very good distance, but you're not going to get a lot of height. You're going to get what we call in the industry a worm burner, where you're basically hitting it low along the ground. And that might work in a windy day once in a while, but it's not going to be very consistent all day long. And
correct.
Any thoughts that you might have on the hybrid? Yeah, final thoughts you might have on the hybrid that you would like to suggest?
I think they're the best thing since sliced bread. And I can tell you that I've made over $100,000 on the Legends Tour just by using them. So get yourself a hybrid.
Yeah, and just one other last point as well. The other thing too is when we're talking about your stance with a hybrid, again, because it's playing it much more like an iron. You don't need an overly wide stance. This is another thing that a lot of people make mistakes, is they get their stances too wide. I as a rule of thumb for me, I generally set my feet under what would be under my armpits. Narrowing the stance makes it easier to deliver a descending blow, and it prevents the roundness that leads to thin and fat shots. So just a couple of quick things on the hybrid and also on the wedge play as well. Obviously go and see your local professional to get a more in-depth and detail. We're not here to do that on the show. We're just here to give you some quick tips and some guides just to sort of follow through. So we want to thank you for joining us this morning here on the Women of Golf Show. As always, Cindy and I enjoy bringing you some great guests, and we will have the winner of the El Dorado shootout next week on the show. And I think we're going to have, I believe, Paul Castor, PGA professional Paul Castor, who's been on with me many times on my other program, Golf Talk Live, is going to be joining us on the second half, I believe, next week. So very excited to have him and the winner from next week. So on behalf of Cindy Miller, I'm Ted Odorico. Thank you, as always, for joining us this morning on the Women of Golf Show. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Cindy.
Thanks, Ted.
All right. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening this morning to the Women of Golf Show. Tune in live each week by visiting blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf or on any of these social media platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, CastBox, TalkStream Live, and of course Spotify. If you can't join us live, check out our on-demand section for previously aired broadcasts. To get updates for future shows and upcoming guests, you can follow us on Facebook at Women of Golf. You can also follow me on Twitter at Ted and Buck CEO and Cindy at Cindy Miller Golf. Please remember to join us next week on the Women of Golf Show. See you next time. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.